I'm thinking.
Johan, 見たか。やっぱり殺すか。
Now, the thing is, I was just about to say, I'm kind of thinking back to the night she must have had. That must have been rough. Surely it's got to, I doubt Roberto had any reason to be gentle, and I spoke of it in my discussion, just the nature of it and the consent aspect of it. She's backed into a corner, essentially fighting for her life at that point. I've said it on a few occasions now. She's one of the best characters of this anime, of this story, alongside a few others, of course. So, I'm firmly in her corner. I want growth, improvement. I want her to get out of this funk, this spiral. Okay, so she heard him.
よっぽど見てはいけないものだったらしいわね。1年前のあの夜に見た金髪の美しい。
Once again reiterating that yes, I saw him.
見たものには死をということ。
Ooh, at least she's certainly clocked that much.
でも翌日の新聞にはユンケルスという人が3発の銃弾を受けて死んだという記事が載っている。
She's about to say that.
あの子がやったんでしょ。
She's holding it together right now.
私を撃ったら手に入らなくなるのよ。
Ah, the photos.
あなたの探してたヨハンの子供の写真。
Okay. It's a dangerous game though.
どうなると思う？写真は自動的に連邦捜査局の刑事の
Ola's trick in the book, right? Ola's setup in the book. She's keeping it together, but surely inside she's just terrified. I'm terrified of this man. Look at him. Maybe he's a little bit impressed.
何がおかしいの？
足が震えてるよ。
Shit.
強がってるが立っているのもやっとなんじゃないか。
Oh.
面白い女だ。
Damn straight.
教えてやるよ。
何をしてるの、天馬は？
もちろん医者をやってる。
So he's doing doctor stuff.
潜りのな。
どこで？
出船近くの山。
Oh, he's gonna send her. Ah, Dita, my boy. And his football. Security?
なんでずっとそこに立ってるの？
Stoic. I mean, it's his job after all, so he's doing a good job.
何を始めるつもりだ？リーター、食器を運んでくれ。
オッケー。
ドクターテンマ、あんた本当の命の恩人だ。頭部はかすり傷でしたし、足の方は貫通。
Always humble.
前頸骨動脈は無事でしたし、あなたついてますよ。ついてるか。さて、焼き上がったぜ。
Heckel, you son of a bitch, I've missed you. Yeah, it looks good.
こう見えてもこのヘッケルは料理の腕は大し
Hey,
たもんなんで
okay.
す。
He does excel at something else.
これは若鶏のマレンゴ風って言ってな、このソースが決め手だ。
Nice.
三つ星レストランロポティ・ベッソンのレシピ通りに食卓だな。
It's been.
これが食卓というものだ。
He's not used to having this, eh?
これは金を儲けるためなら何でも
But
や
you
る。
lost out on some of the simple
俺
pleasures.
は金を手に入れて何がやりたかったんだ。親を捨て、兄弟は敵になり、妻と子は殺された。ただ、こういう食卓が欲しかっただけなのに。金は人を狂わせる。この話聞いたことあるか？5年前にこのドイツに闇資本を独占する銀行のようなものが誕生した。
Is
そ
Johan
の仕事は実に見事だった。
associated in
裏
any
社会
capacity?
の汚れた金がそこへ流れると、あっという間にきれいな金になる。わずか5年で巨万の富を築いた。
Quite the operation.
ところが、今年になって突然それらの全てを取り仕切っていたトップの人間がその座から消えた。混沌だよ。 想像を絶するね。
Who initiated this
残され
chaos?
た人間たちは金をめぐって凄まじい奪い合いを始めた。
Yeah, it sounds like a familiar
ほとんどの
situation,
人
doesn't it?
間が死に、その組織は崩壊した。
いや、その突然消えたトップの男さ、やっぱり殺されちまったんでしょうね。
いや、どこかで生きてるよ。どこかで学生でもやってるかもしれない。
学生？
噂じゃその男、いや、その子は組織を作った5年前、たった15歳だったというのだからな。
Oh, look at this. We've got a little Dutch angle.
そんな子供に何ができるんですか？
ところがやったんだ。まるで金に対する大人の習性を実験するように。
He did something
愛の
similar.
行列を子供がいじるようにな。
He did something similar in Kinderheim, didn't he?
どこにあったんですか、その闇の銀行は。
組織の大元は
ドゥ
ゲッセル
ッセルド
ド
ルフ
ルフにあったが、トップのその男は各地を転々としていろいろなところから指令を出していたそうだ。
Last I heard, he's in Munich, according to.
最後に彼が姿を消した時はどこから。
詳しくは知らないが、金に目のくらんだ連中がミュンヘンに大挙して押し寄せたって話だ。
Roberto mentioned it, right?
ミュンヘン。
München.
どうしたドクター？顔色が悪いぜ。
追っ手はまだやってくると思いますが、これからも護衛をつけなきゃならないような生き方をするつもりですか。
Roberto has some ideas, and Ava might be a part of it. Interesting.
彼
Water.
とはもう随分長い付き合いになる。
I don't even know him.
坊や、ヘルムート。
おじさん、ヘルムートって言うんだ。
ああ、もうボディーガードの仕事は終わりだと伝えてくれ。
Careful
彼
now.
は私の最後の身内だ。伝えてくれ。この食卓でこれからのこ
It's
とを
it's
話
that
そう
reoccurring
と。
theme once again, isn't it? Making certain choices and losing certain elements of life, or giving up certain elements of life. There goes the last friend. Oh, okay. I thought he's going to get Ava to.
お昼だよ。みんな
No.
待ってるよ。
Oh, she's here. She's here.
天馬は上の山荘にいる。あんたが殺したいんだろ。
She thinks she wants to do that, but she doesn't. Oh, jeez. Oh,
伝えて。早く逃げるように。早く逃げるように伝えて。
okay. Oh, goddamn, Roberto.
早く
Oh,
来なさい。
lady.
でもおばさん足が。
いいから早く。私のことより早く。ダメだってば。茂みの中へ隠れなきゃ。
天馬を殺す気ないの
Of course not.
大丈夫おばさん。
Oh,
大丈夫よ。でももう奴は上へ登ってしまったんじゃ
Tenma
ない
can
かしら。
fix that up.
ロベルト。
The
天馬
devil
の
himself.
命を狙ってるわ。
天魔のおばさんは誰？天魔の味方？
Something like that.
言っとくけど私はおばさんじゃないわ。
Yeah. I knew she was gonna react to that at some
天
point.
馬のところへ行って逃げるように言いなさい。
だっていっぱい血が出てるよ。
Tenma can
もう
fix
す
you.
ぐ天魔がさっきの銃声を聞いて助けに来てくれるよ。
奴はロベルトは天馬を狙ってるって言ってるのがわからないの。こんなところに来たら
He
奴も
wants him
思
to
うつ
come
ぼ
here
よ。
and draw him out.
あなた天馬の何？
Ah, here you go. Here you go.
お姉さんは天魔の味方なんだろ。こんな怪我までして天魔のこと助けようとしてるんだもん。
She's probably surprised herself at this
好
moment.
きなんだね。
Oh, Dieter. Look at
天
this.
魔の恋人？
Oh,
そっち見張ってなさい。天馬のこと好き？
nice. I like
大
this.
好きだよ。
どういうところが好きなのよ。
お姉さんこそなんで好きなの？
写真を手に入れたいならここからさっさと消えることね。
Again, if he wants her dead,
相
she
手
would
の
have been
弱
dead.
みを握ってるんだね。
嘘よ。
Yeah.
こんな出任せに引っ
Oh,
かかるような
oh
相手
no,
じゃない
oh
か
no,
も。
oh no.
気やしないわよ。
そんなことないよ。天魔は
私を助けになんて気やしない。
Hold on, hold on. Is he about to enter the frame? There he is.
リーター
Oh no, he came though.
今来たら奴に狙い撃ちにされるわ
Oh.
奴の狙いはあなたの命なんだから
このおばさんテンマの知り合いだよ撃たれて血がいっぱい出てるんだ
エヴァ
あなたに今死なれちゃ困るのよ私の夢はあなたを生きたまま警察に引き渡すことなんだから
You know, Dieter's picked up a few tips, of course, being around Tenma and injured people.
ディーター聞こえるかディーター
Tell him what to do,
こ
yeah.
こから敵の位置は把握できるのか
私を助けになって
You're about to find out. Great shot.
来るわけが
おばさん
Ooh. And
天馬
how's this about to play out?
何を始めるつもり
Okay.
傷の経過もいいようだし、こんな天気の中ランチを食える
Yeah,
の
look
が
at
よかっ
this.
た。あんた、ついてるよ。
ついてる
だからあんたを使ったのさ。
私を使った
ところがあんたは裏切った。そこで奴の計画はおしま
But I'm
い。
surprised
さっさと引き上げ
Roberto
た
fell for
と
it.
いうわけだ。
I thought he'd be a bit more clever than that.
真似て作ったからうまいかどうかは保証できないがね。
Oh, so they're gone.
そしてもう一つあんたがついていたのは、ドク
Tenma
タ
was
ー
here.
テンマという名医に治療してもらったということだ。
天馬はどこ
もう言ったよ。
どこに
ミュンヘンに興味を持っていた。どうやらあんたも俺と同じように長いことこういう食
Yeah,
卓を
she
忘
has.
れていたようだからな。
Look at this. Touched by Tenma. Both of them. Okay, that's a great episode. Great episode. Okay, episode 24. Tenma's on the move again. Of course, him and his crew. It's a return for Dieter and Heckel, right? Heckel, who appears to be really quite talented, or he seems to have, or not seems to, he does have this hidden talent, right? He's quite the chef or quite the cook. He certainly has that attention to detail as well, as Dieter pointed out, right? He certainly likes to talk about it, right? And you see in that scene that he's clearly quite passionate about this. So, again, kind of perhaps hinting at his, prior career path, perhaps, before he ended up turning to this lifestyle, right? Again, it remains to be seen if it was a choice, if it was a necessity, but I really like that, getting that little bit of insight for for Heckel. But yeah, they've moved on once again, the elusive crew, the elusive Dr. Tenma, who she gets a glimpse of, right? And I think even that glimpse and the fact that, he treated her and came for her is something, food for thought, perhaps, right? She is sitting there at that dining table, contemplating her actions and how things have played out, just quite recently. So yeah, I think this potentially could be a bit of a turning point for Ava, right? Or at least it is, again, like I said, food for thought. She is going to have a bit of a different perception of Tenma. I mean, she knows Tenma, but the fact that she so truly believed that there's no chance he'll come for her, right? Again, that's this. I think that's a damning appraisal of her actions, of her behavior. I mean, you can look at it from a few different angles, but I do believe that she felt that she doesn't deserve Tenma to even, entertain her in any capacity, let alone, come to her rescue and then to treat her, right? Listen, if Roberto was still around, Tenma would have been dead because Roberto would have put one right in the middle of his eyes, right? Quite easily, quite effectively. But of course, by the time Tenma got there, Roberto decided, okay, this is a bit of a lost cause and it's a bit of a risk because he doesn't really quite know the layout of the place. He doesn't really quite know how much backup they might have, how much security they do actually have. So yeah, from his perspective, it makes a lot of sense to just get out of there, right? Once he's been betrayed or bamboozled by Ava. Now, listen, I'll be honest, I'm a little bit surprised that someone as competent as Roberto, right, firmly established as someone really quite competent. I mean, I was a little bit surprised that he bought it, that he completely just bought this idea of Eva wanting to kill Tenma, right? I just kind of felt that, okay, he's kind of course, he is using her. And, that is the thought that comes to mind almost immediately, right? He feels like he had something here on his hands to utilize. So I kept thinking that Roberto is essentially going in there completely understanding that, okay, I'm not going to rely on this person, right? But, it's my opening. Right, it's a bit of an outlier, a bit of an unknown for them, for this woman to just come strolling in. But yeah, after getting betrayed or bamboozled, he kind of recalibrates the plan, right? He lets Eva just kind of sit out there after shooting her to draw Tenma. And again, if he had stayed a bit longer, perhaps he would have had Tenma, right? One of his targets at least, because the other target is the man who Tenma treats. Interesting one episode character from the looks of it. Actually, I don't know. Maybe he might show up again at some point, right? Maybe he'll show up for Tenma at some point, at a moment of need. Maybe he can do something for Tenma and his crew, Dieter and Heckel. But yeah, let's put a pin in that. But yeah, I've got to say that Eva is really quite courageous in this episode, right? She digs deep, really digs deep. And, she's just, I don't know, in such a foreign situation, isn't she? She's not used to being in this type of thing at all. And then, of course, it immediately picks up at the ending of the last episode. And I suppose it kind of makes sense now. I mean, they had Roberto saying all of that out loud for this reason, I suppose. They needed Eva to hear this, right? As you remember, I was a little bit critical of that, because it felt a little bit unnatural for him to be speaking out loud, right, to himself in that manner. But yeah, ultimately, Eva overhears it, doesn't she? And then, of course, like I said, she's really quite courageous, digs deep, decides to fight fire with fire. I mean, on the spot, she decides that she's going to take this angle. It's a risky one. She makes sure to reiterate all the details, right? Oh, so I wasn't meant to see that handsome young man all that time ago, was I? Right? And then the next day in the paper, I read that it was actually this man Junkers who ended up dying. And then she proceeds to tell Roberto, it was his doing, wasn't it? Johan did this. So yes, even if Roberto ultimately understands that she's actually scared shitless at the moment, she's petrified, she's still showing a bit of courage here, right? That she's showing guts, right? So at least a part of him is impressed. But also at that point, he understands that he can use her in this plan of his, right? To get at Tenma and that man as well. But yeah, she used that tactic of, if you kill me, if you get rid of me, the photos are gone. The photos are going to be mailed, right, upon my death. But going back to the other setting, the mansion, I thought it was actually great setup to bring Dieter and Eva together, right? Of course, given that both of them have had their experiences with Tenma, right? And then, of course, through Dieter, Eva kind of gets to learn about Tenma since he kind of departed, right? Since he's been on the run. I mean, at one point, he straight up just tells her, I love him, right? She asked, do you like him? He replies, I love him, right? I mean, of course, Eva can see, just in his mannerisms, in how he speaks of Tenma, and I'm speaking of Dieter right now, that Tenma has made quite the impression on him. That Tenma, that Dieter has really kind of latched on to Tenma. And realistically speaking, I don't think it really comes as a surprise to Eva, does it? But speaking of Dieter, isn't it just crazy to see the things he's capable of now, right? Once he's really opened up and really kind of getting to be himself, right? You look at Dieter now and you look at Dieter around the time I first saw him. My God, it's like night and day at this point. And of course, Tenma has had quite the major impact on Dieter's trajectory. Though that being said, there is an argument to be made here that perhaps, for some people, this might be a bit too soon as far as Dieter's growth goes, as far as him coming out of his shell goes, right? From, again, the kid I saw in that first appearance, or in that, two-part mini story arc, and then the person I see now. Sure. If someone is to make an argument that it feels a bit sudden or it feels like it needs a bit more time, I can understand that. But yeah, let's kind of shift the focus to Tenma and Heckel and, this man he treats, right? The new character I get to see in this episode. So, first of all, Tenma is now open to treating these men or these types of men, right? Being this underground doctor, right? Black market doctor and all of that. So of course, I'm guessing that Heckel actually facilitated this, right? He connected the two or brought them together. So just in that, you see that Tenma has changed, right? Maybe he's realized that he needs to change, that he has to do this now. And the thing is, it's actually all quite upbeat, isn't it? Them setting the table outside, because he believes it's good for him, because he believes that it's good for his recovery to be out there in the sun, right? To get that vitamin D. But I really quite like the focus on the idea of the dining table, the concept of sharing a meal at a table, right? And everything it kind of encompasses and just the connotations of it, right? To just even be in the position to do that, right? You see that this man longed for this moment. I believe at one point he said, "This is all I really ever wanted." And then of course the dining table itself is this symbol of structure, isn't it? Right? The symbol of connection, a sign of connection with loved ones, right? Legitimate companionship. The thing is, once again, this anime does that thing of really making me think about my own family, kind of listening to this man's regrets and, his obsession with money, right? And how money can drive people mad. It's really poignant stuff, actually. Now, listen, I don't have those problems, but I can still kind of relate. And once again, it continues that trend of obsession, right? And how obsession can completely undo someone's life, or at least turn your life into something that you completely regret after a certain point. You have this man here who has no one. He has no one left. Hell, this helmet fellow, his security guard, who's essentially not the greatest security guard, is he? I just found it so silly that he just turns around and he's just looking at Roberto, caught in the headlights. The moment he sees Roberto, like he doesn't even react. And of course, Roberto puts one in his head and takes him out. So, not the greatest security guard. But, the point is, this man who's dead now is essentially someone he considered his last true friend or his last friend. Because as he stated himself, he lost everyone, right? Because again, his focus was entirely on money. He'd do anything for more money. Money was everything. Money is king. But I do want to focus a bit more on the money aspect of this, right? Money driving people mad, the idea of that, the concept of that, right? Because ultimately, more money, less empathy. Because wealth may be at odds with empathy, right? And compassion and a sense of morality, as the man himself openly admits, right? My siblings turned into my enemies. And then, of course, his wife and kid got dragged into all of this. I think he also said that he kind of got rid of his parents as well, right? They didn't matter anymore. I can't remember the exact line of dialogue, but essentially he discarded them from his life, right? They didn't matter anymore. So yeah, it can certainly cloud a person's moral judgment, right? It can be linked to obsessive behavior, addiction, right? That whole idea of the pursuit of more money. He himself stated, I would have done anything for more money. I did everything for more money. So yeah, interesting concept once again, kind of focusing on the obsessive side of these things. But also there is quite a bit of fascinating insight regarding our Johan, right? A much younger Johan, 5 years ago, right? He's the man behind it, or he was the young man behind it at that point. 5 years ago, there was this bank that was created, right? And it monopolized all of the black market funds, right? Again, money laundering, as Heckel pointed out as well. But turns out he pulled the exact same thing he pulled back in Kinderheim. He was much, much younger back then, but yeah, this dude is something else, isn't he? My God. And, as they stated, he left absolute chaos. Like a Kaiser Sose, he disappears just like that, right? And causes chaos beyond comprehension. And of course, all of that is by design. Because of course, Johan knows they'll eat each other. That's how these people are. He understands people. He understands these people inside and out. And the thing is, if people had just been a little bit less separated by this material greed, Johan would have been maybe a little bit less effective. But again, that's just wishful thinking, isn't it? Because indeed, people are separated by material greed, and Johan understands this and he uses this. He just knows how to tap into the monster within all of them. He just turns those existing monsters to face the mirrors. So yeah, he's out there now. That was 5 years ago, and he was 15 at the time, right? Insane, just insane. Incredibly impressive, of course. But yeah, according to the man, he's out there now. He's a student, and they've alluded to Munich being his likely destination, right? And they've been hinting at Munich for some time now, as I said or stated in the beginning of the discussion, right? So they're really building towards Munich. All roads are leading towards Munich. But this also reminds me of something I heard maybe in episodes 15 or 16, around the time I get to meet the wolf, right? And that other guy who has Nina at that long table. He mentioned something about Johan, secretly gaining power in one of these. And by one of these, I mean some of these things he laid out, right? I think he was mentioning things like controlling the bank structure or the bank's structure, right? I'm guessing that's the one he was speaking of. He also mentioned the munitions industry, didn't he? And I think he also said seize the military, right? He's laying out a few different things that you need to kind of gain control of to take absolute control of a nation. But yeah, I think that should do it for this one, folks. If you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you're interested in early access or full opacity or perhaps timer-based full length, consider checking out the Patreon page and potentially supporting the channel. I mean, listen, you can honestly easily support the channel just by dropping a like. And I feel like dropping a like is like the easiest thing you can do to support a channel that you like or a content creator you like. It takes a split second. Just click that thumbs up if indeed you enjoyed it. But yeah, if you do happen to be interested in the Patreon side of things, the links are in the description and the pinned comment. Also links to social media, things like Twitter and Instagram. Right then, thank you so much for joining me, folks, and thank you for your time, because time is precious. It really is. And I do hope to see you again soon for episode 25. Until then, take it easy.